All right, I think we're pretty good there. Yeah. Hey, Google, let's record. There we go. All right, we're live. Let's get that share link here. Hello, Kintech. How's it going? Just getting everything set up here. Okay. That. Anything else here? That. Back. Alrighty. I'm doing alright. Just gotta get this website done. Running a little bit behind today. I have, oh yeah, I do. That up. Localhost 8000. There we go. That's good. Do I have the latest? No Arian posted some stuff. Python. There we go. Okay, cool. So there's no active. If I go over to admin challenges / create. Not sure how this is supposed to work. There's no submit button. Might have to figure that out at some point. Styles, let's see this. So he's still got the style sheet. Maybe that's why things aren't working. I'll have to get with him. The time being, because I think I can create stuff by going to docs. Yes. And then I can do challenges create. This actually will not. I don't have the auth. I don't know why the auth isn't working. I'll have to experiment with that. Something about how it handles authentication doesn't play well with how I have authentication working. But I should be able to do here, and then we do window.cookies. No, it's not Windows, it's a document dot spell. Yeah, there's no cookie set. So did I not log in? No, I was logged in, right? How are there no cookies? That makes no sense. So I shouldn't be able to access this without cookies. Document.cookie. That's empty too. Oh, I know why it's empty. I set it up as an HTTP only cookie, so you can't access it from JavaScript. Alright, so alright, whatever. That doesn't matter. Don't gotta worry about that. For the time being, I'm trying to think, because I've got to add the, I'm trying to add the ability to create a submission. If we come over here and we go over to entities, I've got submissions. Yeah, all of that's here. All the submissions code is here. A lot of duplication. Like, I have a lot of boilerplate code in here, like the repr, the assignments. It's like, I needed certain functionality, and I didn't want to have to deal with the mess of, that's wrong. But I didn't want to deal with the mess of using like data classes or trying to get pedantic working. So I just did it by hand, by scratch, and add the functionality I needed. This was supposed to be self, not self-time. Because the hash of self.id ID is going to be an int. The int has a likelihood of being a cached int, so it's always going to have the same ID. It's like, I guess it would work ultimately, but I didn't want it that way for a reason. Maybe I need to do it this way. That's what I meant to do. Because ID is an int, so I can just return it because the hash is supposed to be an int. Alright, so let's see, what do we gotta do here? So, alright, so the thing that's missing, because if we go over back here to submissions, you can create, this is not where we create. You go over to database, and then let me close the model. There's so many files here. Just out of curiosity. I do projects, count, dot, and then Python. Oh yeah, there's 55 Python files in this project already. And it's over 2,182 lines. That's probably counting tests. Actually, we can do SOC. 46 files and over 1,600 lines of Python code. Absolutely bonkers. It isn't even fully functional yet. But we're getting it. We're almost there. We almost got it done. It's almost ready to go. I've got a little bit more. Like, what I'm working on now is we're able to create a user, we're able to log in. We're able to create a challenge, and then now we're going to be able to create a submission for each of those challenges. So that's what's next. That's what we're working on now. You know what? I knew there was something else. So now, let's see, how do I make that work? And why is it not working? This one. Target. So now you can see me press the keys. Cool. Then why is this one not? Enable presentation. Enable presentation. Nothing. Mouse pointer. Oh, there we go. And mouse click. Is that easier to see stuff? To see what's going on? I know it's got to be easier to see the mouse cursor now. Way easier. And you can tell when I'm clicking and all that fun stuff. All right, cool. Now we got that working. Let's see if we can figure out how to get this. So I'm inside the entity still. I need to find the database. I put that under challenges. So under challenges, we create. And so like what's happening here is I've got everything necessary to create the submission. What I don't have, if we come over here and let me bring up models. It's like I have the submissions, right? There's no like created time on these. If I come over to submission status, we can set a Unicode status message on it. And then when it was updated. And then who made the status update. So, I need to figure out what statuses we're going to have. and we need to make an enum for that. Let's see if we can create a scratch file. We can play around with this. From enum, import enum, class testing, enum, bring enum, testing. Let's import auto, another auto, that, and then if we do print testing dot testing dot another, run that, so it prints out like that. If I do, why are those complaining? If I do def and we return self.value 1, 2. So this is giving numbers. I'm trying to remember how exactly enum. There's a way we can create a. Now let me jump into that. That's not what I want to do. Come on, let me jump into that. There we go. Finally jumped into it. Don't know why I didn't jump into it before. Generate next value. This is what I'm looking for. So we come back over here and we do generate next value. Get name, start, count, last value. We're just going to return name. Right? And then we're going to do from typing, import any, that. I think that's class. Let's run it. Yeah, we get an error. Must be defined before members. So up here, testing another. There we go. So now, if I got rid of this, what happens there? Yeah, that gives us that. It's like right like that's there. Now we've got that working, and I want to do equals testing and equals. And now they're true and true. All right, cool. So now we have, actually, if I get rid of this, still true. The reason why I want to leave it like that, though, there's a reason why I want to leave it like that. Because I want it to store, like when I just do like testing, I want it to retrieve the value, not that representation. So that's why we're doing it that way. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a class string enum, and then it's going to be string and enum. It's going to have this right here, and we're going to do string enum, that there, and we're going to take this and it up to here. That, and now if we run it, it still says it's equal. Now let's print out those values. And there we go. All right, cool. It's working exactly as expected. So now we can copy out this. Yeah, let's copy that out. Close that. So let's come back over here. We're going to do create new string, Python file, string enum, paste that in there. Now we have a string enum type. And then I'm going to come over here to entities, submissions, and I'm going to do from soc.stringenum, import stringenum, class, submission types, stringenum, and then I'm going to do, and let me pull in auto. Is that not pulling in auto? Did we not import that correctly? Oh, it's not. And then auto equals auto. this way to stop screwing up my import. Oh. And now we can do what types do we want? We want to do status, submission status is not a type. Submission status, I don't need not plural. So then we do submission status, and it's going to be created. So when a user creates the oops, there we go. So when the user creates a submission, the status is going to be set to created, and then the user ID on that model is going to be set to the user that created it. Then we're going to have approved. So once a mod approves a submission, it'll get this approved status. And then that user ID will be set to the mod's ID. We'll have disapproved, auto. And so that will be if a mod disapproves. I'm trying to think, any of that for now is good. Like, I think those three make sense. I'm confused why this is yelling it. So just like, if I just did that, would it work? Go back to that scratch file. So I'm confused why it's yelling at me. Yeah, that doesn't work. All right, there we go. Cool. So now we've got that functioning. So now we've got submission statuses. And then we come back over here to, not sessions. We want to go to challenges. And then from submission, we want to support submission status. And then we come down here. When we do create, await self.set status on model, and then we're going to do status dot created like that. Okay, so now we got to create the set status method. Oh no, wrong thing. I'm in the wrong spot. I'm on the challenger. I need to do, there it is, create submission, this one right here. This is going to get that. We're going to do set submission stats. Yeah, an auto import. Submission status, go back. Now, we're going to set submission status, ACF, set submission status. Submission or submission model. I don't care which one we get. I just need the submission ID. So either will work. And then we do. What do we do? You know what might be smarter? That would be smart. So that's what I'm going to do. We're actually going to change this a little bit. Just a second. And then we get the status. And that is going to be a submission status type. This is going to return nothing. It's not going to return anything. And we have to do, it's going to be basically this code right here. And we're going to do, oh, right there. I'm going blind here. Never mind me. All right, and then it's going to be submission status model. So we need to go import that. That's going to be from here. Submission status. Status model. Whoops. There we go. All right. here. Model. If I jump into that, there we go. It has, I need to set the status, and I need to set the user ID and the submission ID. So status, user ID, submission ID. Status, well, status. There we go. Submission ID, submission.id, and then user ID equals, ooh, we have to pass in the user. User int user ID user if is instance user int else user.id. So there we go. Alright. And the reason why I do it that way is because I want to be able to set the user. Like, if I have the user model, then yeah, I can use the user model. But sometimes I don't want to have to fetch the user from the database just to create the user model so that I can get their ID. So I allow myself to pass in the int, so I don't have to make that database fetch if I don't want to. Alright, so there we go. So we got that, and then we have to inject the DB session. Async session equals inject, and this needs to become a value method. Right, like that, so we get our injection. Well, alright, cool. So that looks like that's going to work right there. That should do everything we need to get that working. But I wanted to change this. I don't want this to work this way. Instead, model submission equals alright, so then we do that. This down here. Return submission. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do submission dot status equals submission status dot created. That, and then I'm going to do submission dot sync. Like that. So then we go back over to our submission type. And we're going to go up here, and we're going to do status, status, and this is the special behavior I needed, where I can create a property that I can track this if it's changed or not. So this way it's, and I can like it makes the interface a little bit cleaner, because like you can see right here, I'm just like assigning to status, right? And then I'm calling sync. And what this property, this right here, this state property does, is it tracks the state of the property itself. So when we change it, the state becomes changed, and then once we sync it, the state becomes changed as false, right? So as soon as I assign to it, now all I have to do is call sync, and it'll handle syncing it up. So I can change a bunch of properties on my submission type, and then sync them, and they all go to the database, which is pretty handy. And I didn't want to take the time to figure out how to make that work with Pydantic or data classes, so I just did straight up classes all on my own. So it's a lot of boilerplate, but oh well. And then we're gonna do status. Right, like that. And then we're going to come up here. We're going to do status. Status equals auto. assign that to status. No. Status. Why am I having so much trouble? There we go. Alright, so now we have the submission status defaulting to none, and then we do self dot status equal. And like the reason why I needed like this state property is because like I need to be able to assign to the property without it being marked as changed every time I create a new submission object. So this state property function returns a property status that tracks when it's changed, and then it returns a property that doesn't track. So when I want to update it without needing to know if it's changed or not, I assign to the underscore status. Whereas when I need to know if it's been changed or not, you use the regular one that's not underscore. So this one's public, this one's private. They behave differently. And then I have the status state, which is where I can check and see if the state of the property is changed or not. And you can see that down here where I'm going to do or self.description. Whoops. Yeah, status. I'm sorry. State dot changed. So there we go. Now I can check and see if that's changed or not. And so this will let me know if stuff's changed. And then I come down here into sync. And so it's checking. If nothing's changed, it just returns. If self.description state dot changed, we do this. And then I have to do description state dot changed equals false. And then if self dot status state dot changed, await db dot challenges dot set status self dot status. It's gonna actually be self dot status self dot user ID. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on 1 second here. Sometimes a status has more information than just is it enabled, is it approved, is it disapproved, is it created. It also has who set the status. So when you create a submission, you're setting your own status on your submission to create it. And then a mod can come in later and they will be able to change that submission status to approved or disapproved. And so we need to know which mod did that. So I've actually got to add another class here. And we're going to do class submission status. How do I do this? Because I think we'll do that. I think that's what we're going to do. Real quick, make that. Since we changed this, we're just going to change that to status. Don't have rename inheritors. Factor. That should change everything everywhere. Just checking Git to make sure it did. Yeah, it changed it. Didn't change it. Yeah, it changed it everywhere. All right, cool. So that got changed everywhere. So now we're just going to call this the enum status, and then we're going to have a submission status model. This is supposed to inherit from Bevy. If we come over here, actually there should be sort of challenges because this one's fully functional. Yeah, it's just inheriting from Bevy. There's nothing else that it inherits from. We need to do Bevy. And this one needs to inherit from Bevy. And that's so I can get that injection working. Def init Status. And yeah, ID, which is going to be an int. I need, if we come back over here to the model, submission status, we just basically need to replicate it. So status, updated, user ID, and submission. Status, to be a status enum. Then we're going to have updated. That's going to be a date time. Date time. Oh, we got to import that. From datetime, import. Right, and then we come over here, and then it's just user ID, int, and submission ID. Self.id equals ID. Status. Status. Don't have to really do anything crazy here, because you're not going to be changing these. So we can actually change this to a data class, I think. Let's try it. Let's find out if we can do that. From data classes, data class, data class. Like that. And I don't think we actually need the heavy bit there. We can just do that. All right. Need to replicate what I'm about to do across multiple spots. Boom, there we go. So now we have our data class. Our submission status data class. I don't think I need that, so we can get rid of it. And there we go. So now, this is going to be a submission status type. Like that. And then we come down here. Actually, I think we can do frozen, sure. All right, so that's going to do is that's going to make this immutable, so you can't change the values of these properties. And because that's never going to change, that's perfectly fine. It's exactly what we want. And then we can have here status. When we come down to, because now we've got the changed there. Status, submission status, or none. That'll become none. And we come down here. So now, when that gets assigned to, we're going to do self-status. What's the signature for that? Submission is self, and then it gets the status dot status, like that. And then we get the user ID off of the status. User ID. Is that correct? Yeah, it looks like it's correct. All right, there we go. So now we've got this set up. It's going to pass in the submission, it's going to pass in the status, and then it's going to pass in the user ID. And I think that should work. And oh, one more thing. Self.description state. Nope, not description. Status. Status state. There we go. Dot change equals false. Because now it's been synced. So now we've sent it to the database, and it's all been synced up. Very cool. All right. One thing don't necessarily have just yet is all right, I think we're good there. I think this is all set up. The one thing I'm thinking about right now that I don't have just yet is when I get submission, set submission, get submissions. This needs to be a little bit more complicated. That's that. Which key combination? No, that's not it. Why is it not jumping? I don't understand why it's not jumping to it sometimes. It might be something to do with the stuff I have installed for displaying my key presses on the screen. Okay, that makes sense. That works. You might want to do status. Mission status model, or not. And then we do status equals status if status else from model. Just gonna maintain this. Well, you know what? We can do status. This is what's really cool. We're gonna make this. This is our factory function right here, and so it's gonna have all of our logic. So like instead of having to do if status is none, use none. Otherwise, use the function to create it from the model. We're just going to create the function, and it's gonna have the logic from db model mission status model. We need to go back down here. Hey GX, how's it going? Alright, and this is going to return a submission status right like that, and then we're going to do return submission status if not model this can actually be none. That not model, return submission status this one status dot none datetime dot utc now. You know what? Datetime from timestamp 0. It's gonna be back at epoch. That pretty much, I think that's pretty much universally considered like an invalid date. User ID is gonna be -1, and submission ID is gonna be -1. That's just like a null submission status. And then we're gonna do submissions. If the model exists, then we do. What do we do? Model dot ID. Model dot. Actually, let me come back over here to the scratch. Testing. Back up here. Oh, that's interesting. Why is that different? If the version is greater than 311 property. If this is something in PyCharm, this isn't anything to do with Python right here. But if the version is greater than or equal to 311, use that code. property name, property value, string any. And then down here, it's using a types dynamic class attribute. I don't know what the difference is there. Very interesting and odd all at the same time. Here's one that's checking for 3.7. That's not what I'm looking for. Self-value. I'm not sure why. I want to see, don't know why it's not working. I don't think this works. Maybe it does. We do wrapper. There we go. Alright, cool. Did... No, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, so there we go. Now it works. When I used auto correctly, the value is set correctly. Alright, so that works for what I needed to do. Then we do status. And it's going to be coming as a string from the model. Model.status. And we do, so we've got the date time, model, updated, no, updated. Then we do model.user_ID, model.submission ID, like that. Okay, cool. So now we're creating a submission status object from a submission status model, if it exists. If it doesn't exist, we get back a null type. Let's just do at property, def valid. This is going to return a bool. We're going to return self.id equals -1. That is not equal to. So if the ID on the model is not equal to -1, it's valid. If it's -1, we know it hit this path because the model was none, so it's an invalid submission status. All right, cool. Right. So that's from here. So we're grabbing the status from there. So we can pass in a status to this. And then if we go back to challenges, that's where we were. So now we can do wait, self.get submission status. And then we do row, maybe. No, that's not how it works. So if you look here, we can see I'm just doing a dot notation. So I don't know why I thought I needed to do it that way. Right, that works. Get submission status. And then we got to define that function. Bevy method, AC. Def get submission status. Mission ID int. This is going to return a submission status model. And this is going to be a little bit tricky because we're going to have multiple statuses. And when we get the status, we want to get the most recent status. So I've got to organize these by date. Alright, so let's figure out how to make that one. Pretty much use this. There's gotta be one where it's marked similar to one. Not get all, want to get act. And actually, let me see. This one has some more stuff to it. You know what? We might not even need to do. Okay, cool. We don't even need to do what we just did before. So that's fine. We'll figure that out in just a moment. A session, checked. No. We don't need this. We need select session. Submission status model filter. We don't need to filter. We do need to order by. I think it's order by. SQL Alchemy order by. It's it is underscore. So if we come down here, yeah, order by, and then we do the column 1. So we do submission status model dot updated, then sending. That SQL Alchemy doesn't have the type hinting set up perfectly right just yet. He's working on, the guy who makes it is working on version 2.0, and that should have type hinting a little bit better set up. So it should work a little bit better when you're doing this stuff. So there'll be less of the yellow underlining, all that fun stuff. This could be none sometimes if there's no status set. The session model, and then we're not going to be challenged to type. We're going to come up here. We need to keep scrolling. Submission status type. Status. Worked that. There. Status. And this is so I can get Bevy's injection if I need it. Not super necessary right now, but I want to have it just in case. Status type. Oops. Hit tab. I hit it. Model. Oh, I see. Submission status or none. Actually put that because this right here is going to handle the none condition and give us a null status. And I notice we're missing a return. Fix that. That. Submission status. Row wait. This right here will end up I actually think I'm going to make this a little bit smarter. That's not going to actually get the model. That's going to get the submission status now. If I jump into this, come on. There we go. And then we got that. Not model. Status. Is instance model submission status return. So we don't, if it's already a submission status type, just return it. Just gonna return it. So we don't need to create a new submission status if it is a submission status. And we're gonna change this up because now we've got a bunch of like instance type checking. Got a lot of type checking happening here. So now we're going to change that to a match. We're going to do model, match, and then we're going to do case none. That's going to return. And then we're going to have case submission status, turn model. And we have case, default case, it's just going to be this right here. Why did you not format it? Here we go. So now it'll check, is it a none value? Create an invalid submission status. Is it a submission status already? Just return the model. If it's none of those, default to sending back a submission status. I could change this since we're only accepting 3 types. So you know what? Actually, this will become the default. We're going to do this. This is what we're going to do. We're going to have this as the default. This is going to get moved back up to here. Apparently PyCharm doesn't support this correctly. Doesn't support the new setup, the new match case correctly. Status model. All right, so now what's happening is, if it's coming, it's taking the model. If it's a submission status model, we create a new submission status from that model, all right? If the model is a submission status already, just return it. And if the model is none, we're going to come down to here. Or if it's neither of these, if it's not a submission status model, if it's not a submission status object, it's going to come down here to the default case and to return an invalid submission status. All right, pretty cool. And that's how you use the match case for like these kind of things. Makes things super clean, super easy. You can understand. It's pretty easy to understand what's happening there. So it's a really handy thing for that kind of situation. You're going to end up using match case a lot inside of factory functions. That's what this from DB model method is. It's a factory method that builds a class based on the input it's given. And it's really useful because it takes all the logic and puts it in one spot, so you don't have to think about it elsewhere. And you can see that here, not here. All right, let me just do. You can see that here because I'm just calling the model. And I'm getting all of that logic. And then like here, we're doing the same thing. We're calling it and we're getting all of that logic. So we don't have to put any logic in here. It's all inside of there, and we're sharing that logic everywhere we need it. All right. And then, like you see, we have the same thing going on here. We're using that model, and we're getting the exact same logic. I think we're good there. I think it's pretty much set correctly now. We got to figure out how to test it. Let me grab this. We're going to go ahead and add a string enum type. That state lines from string enum, so you do that stage lines. Add session status enum. Oh, I need to. How do I go back and amend that? I made a spelling error. Now, since I haven't pushed that out to the server or up to GitHub, it's perfectly fine. Since it's my commit, I'm the only person who's ever seen that commit. It's perfectly fine to go in and amend the commit message. What happened? Why did it not work? Come on. Amend. Enum. Continue. And then if we come back over here, we can see it's still wrong. Why is it not working? Can I edit it? Will that let me do it? There we go. Right, go back to main. Do not stash. Why is it behaving like this? Report. Alright, so let's go back over here. Come over here. Edit. It should be able, I don't know why this isn't working right. I did it the other day. It worked perfectly fine. Commit. Alright. Then if I come over here. Alright, cool. Fixed it. Now I come back over here to my stashes. No branch. We can delete that one. Let's get this one first. Let's grab 7/10. That's today. Apply stash. Let's make sure we didn't lose anything. Apply stash. Come back over here. Alright, cool. We didn't lose anything. So let's go back over here. This one right here. Yeah. Delete stash. I'm going to go ahead and delete all of these stashes. This is why I do like having the GUI, because it makes things a lot easier to just look at. I can do that from the command line. It's not as easy for me, but I don't know it all off the top of the head super well. Alright, so let's see, what we need commit next? Missions. Let us do this. We're going to submit these lines right from here to there. That's using data class, so we need that line. We need this line. And we need the date timeline. Alright, stage lines. Add submission status type. And then, this line got corrected because that needed to inherit from Bevy. Stage lines. Inherit from Bevy. And then correct mission. Just trying to get it down to the point where it's just stage lines, stage lines. Correctly handle description changes. And then, is it just status stuff? Just status stuff. Yeah, it's just status stuff. Add support. Our submission statuses. Submission type. Did we make any other changes in here? I don't think we did. Add support for submission. Add RM queries. Mission stats. So now we've got a bunch of stuff committed. We can get rid of this. So now, how do we test it? We gotta figure out how to test it. Like, I should be able to test it by going to... No. Right. Why is it not giving me the command I want? There we go. You know what I'm gonna do? Take this, I'm gonna move it right here. Move this up here, so it's not hiding behind all my key presses. That up, and then we can go over here, we can go with this, and now it shows up. So we need to fix this template so that it will submit. I'm not sure what happened there. I'm not sure why it doesn't have that submit button. And that's going to be inside of the create challenge template. Form is submitted, so I can literally just add a button, create. Right like that. And if I come over here and reload, now we have a create button. I can set the title, testing, challenges. This is a test challenge. Let's pick a date. It's going to start today. Oh boy, it's 4 p.m. Then we're going to pick a date. 8. And if I click create, should have worked. Now if we go here, go to challenges, boom, there we can see the challenge. It has the title we set, has the description, has 7, 10, 20. Yep, that's correct. That's UTC time. This UTC is 4 hours ahead of me right now. And it is currently 1600 and it's set for 20. Let's see, and then start time. This is incorrect. We've got to figure this out at some point. It's saying 1600 right there. That's my local time. I need it to be in UTC time on the server. So at some point we'll have to figure that out. And the end time is the same situation. User was created by me. Avatar none. It has when I joined. Banned, false, roles. I'm admin. Is this challenge active? No, it's not. Why? Why is it not active right now? Because the start time is 1600. And the end time is 2000, right? And the current time, UTC, is 2001. It's 2001. So this challenge is not currently active. It also currently doesn't have any submissions. We go home. There's no active submissions. So let's go back and we'll create a new submission. Testing challenges. Let's just do the same thing, but we're going to change the end time to tomorrow. Boom. So this one will end up being active. Yeah, this will end up being active because it's going to be 1600 start time, then it's going to have 2000, 20. I don't know how to say that. It sounds wrong saying 2000. It'd be 400, 1600, 2000. Whatever. 2000 hours. Yeah, that sounds right. So it's gonna be 2000 hours tomorrow. So let's do new challenge. This is a new test challenge. And then we do create it. We do need to set that up to redirect to someplace at some point, but for now, it's going to have to do. And then we go challenges again. Now we see we have 2 of them, an ID 2. This one is active, true. It's the new challenge. New. This is a new test challenge. So got everything correct. And now if we look at the end date, it ends at 7/11 instead of 7. Interesting. I'm just looking at this, and I'm noticing that both of these are a new challenge. So something is wonky here. And it's something to do with how my state property works. Interesting. So I'll have to figure that out at some point. That'll have to be the next thing to figure out. But we've created a new challenge. It's active, so we should be able to create a submission for it. If we go to the home page, we don't have the CSS for this yet. Arian has a bunch of cool CSS to make this look really pretty. Alright, so actually, if we go, let's go back. Let's do one more thing. Let's get that. Look. And set this to the 5th. And we're going to create. And go to the home page. And it didn't quite work the way. Oh, never mind. We won't worry about it. I don't need to worry about that right now. Post your submission. Doesn't do anything yet. So we've got to make that do something so that we can create our own submission. Let me go get a drink. So I'll be right back. Give me just a second. All right, we're back. Let's see where we're at here. This is working. I think I'm just going to copy this create challenge, and then I'm going to paste it here. Create submission. That. Create submission. And submissions have a few different properties. Back over here. Submissions right there. So we need to set the type. No, we don't need to set the type. Oh no, we need to set the type, we need to set the link, and we need to set the description. Everything else will come from other things. Alright. We will have an input type hidden. Value is going to be challenge.id. Okay. H2 challenge.title. Create submission form. Set the description. That's a text error, text area. And we set the link. That's going to be an input text. Why is that? I'm not going to worry about that right now. I think it's just going to explain about all of them. It doesn't like the placeholders. It wants me to do a label. Like you can do label for start, and then we have that, start, that, and then you would do ID start. And now that for is that label should point at the input. If I got rid of this, would it complain? Yes, it complain. I'm wondering if I don't know if I keep putting in a comma. There we go. All right. I don't know if our framework here, our style framework, supports labels. So it'll be fun to find out, I guess. And then this is going to be mission. That's going to be type text. URL, there you go. I think that's better. We'll do URL. And we need to do label for link. And then we need to pick the type. And that's going to be a select. Oh, that doesn't get a placeholder. ID equals mission label for equal mission type. Name equals challenge ID. What is this complaining about? Oh, okay. I see. Select option value equals log and then video code. All right, cool. So now we have that. That should be working. Create submission form. Submit either prevent default, API request, challenges, missions. Okay. All right. So now we have to create an API route for this. We've got to create a page to display this template, and then we have to create this API route. And that's actually not going to be an admin route. That's going to be just a straight up API route. Is that correct? I think that's wrong. Yeah, it's just v1. No API bit there. I like that. v1 challenges, submissions, create. So next up, let's create this page, which is going to require me coming back over to site. Missions. Actually, let's do challenges. Challenge E. Actually, I think you just do that. Then submission. do that. It's not 2, and then we're going to do create. What did we name that template? Create submission challenge. It's going to be get then challenge ID int that. Then we should be able to actually load that. If we restart the server, then we come up here and we do challenges /1/ submission. Site can't be reached. I thought I restarted it. What the heck? Create submission, description, link, blog post. And like, here's the reason why PyCharm complains when you don't set a label. Because as soon as I start typing, this is something. So like, now if I were to click off that, if I didn't have this label here, I wouldn't know what this was. That's why using just a placeholder isn't a great idea. And honestly, come back over here, a better way to make that look, rather than put placeholder, would do something like this. And then you come over here and you reload. Now you have like an indication of what's the value that goes in there. And then we could do describe your submission. Now, if we reload this, describe your submission. So like it explains what you should do there, and then you have the label to tell you what it is. Then we have our video, we have our code, cool. Now, if I were to do testing, 1, 2, 3, HTTPS, sfc.beginner.codes, call it code project, create. Now we can, did I have, yeah, right there, create. So now we can check headers, response, payload. They can see that we submitted the description correctly. We did not submit the challenge ID correctly. Challenge ID did not work. Why did the challenge ID not work? So let's do this. Challenge. Ah. Why did that happen? I come back to here. Why did this return? It should return a challenge. Oh. I know why. Okay, alright, so we need to go over to here. We need to, come on, let me go. Think, maybe, if I define a to-dict, if I define a to-dict, def to-dict, and I return dict of string any. So we have the any already. And then I return ID self.id, and then I do title self.title, description description, created, created, start, start, dot, ISO format, end, ISO format. I want the dates as ISO format strings. User, we'll just do self dot created by dot. Wait. Oh wait, it already has a to-dict. So that didn't do the thing I wanted it to do. Never mind. So that's not what I want. So here is not where I want to be. Here's where I want to be. And then where we do challenge, we do this, and we do to. That, in theory, should fix the problem. Reload. Internal server error. Oh, we have to await the to-dict. There we go. And then we have to restart the server. Now I reload it. This is a test submission. And then HTTPS, we do the same thing. And code. And like, so now you see where we're echoing it out. We get the ID 1, we get the title, we get the description, we get it's created, we get the start date, we get the end date. We get all of that information. Now when we click create, it still blows up because we haven't created that API endpoint, but now you see the challenge ID gets set correctly to 1. So there we go. Now that problem is solved. Something I've seen, like if you look at ever, hey, iBlame, how's it going? How you doing? Just noticed you joined. I don't know how long ago you sent your message. I've been distracted writing code, so you'll have to excuse me. But something I've seen in the past that's really cool, like with Discord.py, is they will actually create a special kind of object that lets you do something like that. So this right here requires you to await, right? And then this right here requires us to await. So they're both doing async stuff. So we have to await both of them. So what they've done is they've created a special object that if you await it, it does this. And if you call the to-dict on it, it will, and then you await that, it'll do this, and then it'll send it to, it'll do the to-dict. So that's going to be a future project to make this so we don't have to do this await, this double await. That's for another day. That's something we will do another day. Cool. So let's go back to here. We don't want to have this because we got that working. So now all of that's functioning. Now we need to come up here, API app. We want to jump into that. And we're submitting this to this API at API app dot host. And we need to do challenges / submissions / create. And it's going to have dependencies. Where do I have that? From soc.auth helpers import validate bearer token. So you have to be logged in order to create a submission. So we have to validate the bearer token, which is being set by the JavaScript. Then we do async dev gate submission. Ooh, you know what? Let's actually change this some. And we're gonna do challenge ID, right like that. Submissions create, and then we'll have challenge ID int, right like that. And I can't spell. There we go. I'm back. I accidentally hit my window. Didn't mean to do that. And then we go back to our template. And rather than putting the challenge ID here, we put challenge ID here. Challenge.id. Right like that. So now, if we reload this, the description, HTTPS, we'll just go with the same thing, boom, create, and then we scroll down, we see the blue error, it blew up. Now we see that we don't have the ID in there, but if we go look at the headers and we look at the URL, you see right here, that one right there, that indicates the challenge ID. I think that's a little bit more semantic in the sense that now we just put the ID in the URL and we can say, all right, we're at that. I mean, yeah, it's going to be, I mean, you're a beginner, a lot of it's going to go over your head. Don't worry about that. Like, you're going to, but like, I feel like hearing the words, they get into your brain and it can really help you later on. So yeah, I'm glad to have you, and I hope you can learn a lot from it, from the stuff we're doing today. Database, subject, database, so injecting the database. And then we need to create a submission. Did I have? No, that's in the other. So let's go over here. We're going to go to admin API. And we need to get this payload. I don't really need it. I could write that up. Here. Have to. Nope, that's not where I want to be. And this is where I want to be. Need that. And then I need from Pydantic. Import base model. Sending in a description, which is a string. We're sending in a link, which is a string, and we're sending in a type, which is a string. Then we grab the challenge ID, and then we grab the submission as I'm going to rename that. Create submission payload. And it didn't do the thing. Oh, because I have a typo. How did I get a typo? There we go. So now, we got that done. Why is this complaining? Oh, right. I knew there was something missing when I wrote that. I couldn't think of what it was for the life of me. Now I get it. There we go. So now we're getting the challenge ID from here. We're getting the submission information, and that's being part of the JSON post. That's going to be inside the payload here. You can see that right there. It's coming through as, if we view the source, you can see exactly. It's just a JSON object, and that's what this is getting right here. That's the shape of that JSON object. Descriptions for the string, a link that is a string, and a type that is a string. So this is the key in the JSON, where description, link, and type, they're the key in the JSON. And this is the type that we expect each of those keys to have. And then I'm telling it, just give me that submission object from the payload. And then I'm grabbing my database and having that injected by Bevy so that we can create the submission. And then we do await submission equals await db.challenges.create submission. What is... Takes a type, it takes a link, it takes a description. Then it takes the challenge ID and the user ID. So you've got to get the user ID, which is one more thing you got to grab here. And the user ID comes from the session. Right, so session. Is that a dict? I think that's a dict string any. We can check in just a second. And that's going to be a depends. Bearer token. We've got to import one more thing right here. Bearer token. And I just want a real quick check. Let's return a dict. Get session data. Now it returns a session object, which comes from entities. All right. We've already got it. Here. Oh no, we're in the wrong spot. Never mind. From SOC dot entities dot session session. Here. Create submission. Session. That. Okay, so JavaScript is going to set a session variable. Hey, Arian, how's it going? JavaScript's going to set a session variable, which is just going to contain information about the session in our database. And this line right here is going to send that into our function as a session variable. And then we got to create the submission. How did that function work? It's type, link, description, challenge. All right. Type, so we got to do submission.type. I can remember it. Link, submission.link. Submission.description. And we got to do challenge ID. And then we have to do session. Do not hint. User ID. Right like that. Very cool. All right, cool. So now it should be creating the submission, and then we can do return submission.toDict, right like that. Super simple. Should work now. So let's restart the server. Right like that. And then let's try running this again. It exploded. Missing run required positional argument status. All right, cool. So from DB model. Alright, so we goofed up somewhere here, right? Let me come here. Equals none. That was the mistake. Now we restart everything. And we attempt to create. It exploded again. Status object has no attributes. How did we goof that one up? Let's find out. What? $129. Trying to like think what might be causing this. Because what's happening? Oh, I know. I get it. We come back over here. Where do we go? Gotta go to database challenges. We're setting it to that. We need to do Submission status. All right, so we're in the right spot. Submission status. Gets an ID. Get status. User ID. Oh, we're gonna get rid of this. User ID. User ID, because I need it in multiple spots. User ID. Thanks a lot. And then we need the submission ID. Submission ID. Submission ID. Huh? And then I have to come here because I have to set some defaults. Like this needs to be -1. That's gonna default to -1, and then I think that's it. Oh, updated equals 0, I guess. I'm trying to think. Whoa, excuse me. Actually, I know what I can do. Datetime dot from timestamp 0. Oh, not much, Arian. I'm just trying to get this thing working. Slowly but surely. Why is it complaining? Oh, okay. Whatever. Alright. There we go. Alright. Fun. Why are you not moving? I want this line to move down and it's not moving. There we go. I have to select it. Weird. Alright, so it's got to match this up here. So now we have to change these as well. -1. And this goes here. I think that fixes that problem. We'll find out in a second, won't we? Exploded. Alright, so somewhere along the way, we're not awaiting something that we need to await. So we gotta figure that out. Let's just jump back to the API. We need to await this. So that's probably, hopefully, the whole problem. Still exploded. Submission object has no attribute type. Okay. Line 136 in submissions. Oh, I hit sections. Submissions, thank you. 136. Here. What do you mean you don't have it? Did I not define the property for it? I forgot to define the property. Type. String. Type. Oh yeah. See, we're getting closer. We're getting closer. And free. It worked for a change. The payload was the description, link, HTTPS SOC beginner.codes, type code, preview of the response. This is the response we got back. We got challenge ID 1, description, ID 5. So it's been creating these submissions in the background. It's just been blowing up when it's trying to send the data to the browser. So it now is working. So there we go. And it assigned to the correct user. Everything looks correct to me. Looks like it worked pretty well. And since the ID is working, I know a lot of stuff is working correctly. The one thing I don't see here that I feel like I should be seeing is the status. So let's see. I know why I think I know why it's not. No, yes, no, maybe. Is this the submission? This is the submission. And inside of our toDict, I never put the status. Status. Await self. No, I think we just return. Alright, let's see if that works. We got restart. Did I ever create that correctly? Yeah, that should be ish. There's a bug with it. But we'll fix that soon. And we explode. There's no there. Oh, cool. Because we're getting a submission status. So we need to add a def to dict. Make that async just for consistency. Dict of string any. Return self dot status. 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 User ID, self.user ID, submission ID, submission self.submission ID, ID, move this up, self.ID, and update it. And in toDict, we do dot. We have to await that because it's async. The only reason I'm doing that is because all of my other toDicts are async, just in case they have to grab anything from the database. Now, if we restart this, we'll be able to create a submission. It worked. Create. Status, there we go. Now we have the status information. We can see it was created, the user ID who created it, and when it was last updated is wrong. Why is it wrong? I know why it's wrong. I'm trying to think how to fix it. Because the problem is, so like if we jump over here to the challenge, you see right here, I'm assigning it to the submission status, right? And then I'm syncing it. So let's jump, actually set submission status. So let's return submission status dot from db model I like that. And so now it's going to return submission status. Okay. And then if we go back over to here, we have down here we have our sync function. Where'd the sync function go? Do I not have a sync function on this one? Let's see. Where did it go? Where the heck am I in my code? There it is. Sync. Description and status. So right here we're setting the status. And then we need to do self.status equals. So this way, the status gets updated to the newly set status. All right, so then if we go over here and restart, now, like if you notice on this one, can we make that bigger? Yes, we can. Let's see. Oh, so right here, you can see the status. The updated is 1969, right? And that's the problem I'm trying to fix right now. If we click create, we just did another one. So we come over here, we look at the status, and there we go. Now the updated is just now, right? This very moment. It's like, that's the UTC time that it happened. It's July 10th, 20:45 o'clock. All right. So there we go. That worked. So it was just a matter of we needed to get the newly updated status from the database because we were submitting an invalid status, and then we were getting back a valid status. Very cool. All right. Let's see if we can't commit all those changes. And add a template, create submissions. Add a create button to the challenge admin. Then stage challenge. Add missing submission type property. Add a to-dict method to the submissions type. And I want to add this line. Add the submission status to the dict. When creating a session or a submission, model default status. When syncing the status, capture the new status from the and make the submission status ID and updated time optional. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to fix my I've got to fix my state property because right now it's shared between all instances of the class, which it should not be. I'm not sure why it's doing that, so I'll have to figure that out in a minute. That'll be the next project. Because you can see that, like, we can close this, and then I can go admin/challenges. All of these challenges are different, have different created times, or is it created times? No, it's not created times. They all have different, like, start times. Well, the start times, no. It's the titles are all the same. The titles and descriptions are all the same. So you can see title, new challenge. Title, new challenge. Description, this is a new test challenge. This is a new test challenge. And if we come down here, we can see this title, new challenge, description, this is a new test challenge. They're all exactly the same, even though they should be different. So that's all being shared across these state properties. So I'll have to fix that next. So that's the next thing on the agenda. All right, then what is this? This is, what are we doing? State lines. Put the user. Get the user. Lines. Set the updated session to type. When adding a new mission status, return the new row. API endpoint. Add an API endpoint for creating a submission. Like right now, there's very little validation there. Hello, Lava, how's it going? Yeah, it is. I'm not totally sure what's up with that. Oh, it's all the way over there. No lie, maybe it'll sound better if I bring it onto the center of the screen. There we go, in front of me. Does that sound any better? I don't know. It might. It would probably sound deep fried if it's 2 feet off to the side. Sorry about that. Didn't even occur to me. I just changed my setup. It had been permanently in front of me. They're all the way down. Both of them. So I'm not sure. I don't know if it's something wrong with the mic. It's really weird. I don't know. So for now, we're gonna have to live with this. Like it sounds like this no matter how I do it. So it's weird. It shouldn't sound that way, but it does. Back over there. Yeah. I've tried all kinds of stuff. I've tried putting the mic further away from me, closer to me. I've changed it from being like, it has different modes that you can get like just in front or whatever. I've tried all the different modes. I've gone into the mic settings and adjusted things up and down all over the place. I think it's actually a problem with the mic. And this is a mic I have had for like years. You would expect it to last forever, but it's been through several moves. So who knows? It could be a lot of different things. I think it's a problem with the mic. So I'm gonna get another mic at some point, and we'll see. But I don't want to like just buy any old mic. I want to get like a good mic with a good audio setup, so this way I can count out all the possible things as being problems. So we'll see one of these days, but hopefully hopefully I'm understandable and it sounds decent right now. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, the gain is completely turned down, so I don't know what's wrong. Yeah, that could be it. So like I said, I'll get a new mic one of these days and we'll see how it sounds, because it does disappoint me that the audio is definitely clipping, and I'm not totally sure why. All right, okay, so where were we? We were in the midst of... all right, we got to add the add endpoint to create submission. All right, there we go. So we got all of that committed. Yeah, I'm a really loud person, so like, I don't know. Right. Got a few notifications on Discord. right, so what do we do now? We want to fix all of this being the same, okay? That's the next problem. We're going to fix that. We got to come down here to state property. This is returning a state property. We're going to do a couple things here. First off, we're going to do what are we going to do? We're going to do self dot monitored property. Like that. And then we're going to do self.unmonitored property. Like that. And then we're going to get rid of this. We're not going to use that anymore. We don't need that. And actually we need to do this like that. And then here, state equals state property, and that's going to be a type T, and we're just going to do that. And then we return a tuple, state dot monitored property, state dot unmonitored property, and then state. Right like that. Cool. In audio settings, where exactly in audio settings? I am on a Mac, so I don't know. But yeah, I've not turned on any kind of like boosts or anything like that. Like if I take, like in OBS, if I go into the settings on OBS and I disable everything, you still get the clipping. So I've actually adjusted the settings in OBS to make the clipping less bad, less noticeable, but I cannot get rid of it entirely. I'm not sure. I've watched YouTube videos on how to adjust the settings to make it work, so I'm not sure what exactly is going wrong. What is type var? Type var is used for generics. So it's just creating a variable that I can pass into something. It's like, it'll say, it's like if we create a function, let me create a Scratch file. Let's go back to the Scratch file. If I could spell Scratch, that would help. And then we'll do from typing, import type var, right like that, okay? And we're gonna do t equals type var t. Now we're gonna create a function. This takes a thing. And we're gonna have thing, right? And we're not going to annotate that, okay? And then we're gonna do that. We're going to return thing plus 5. So it's going to be an int. That's what we're going to do. But then if I come down here and I do x equals, this takes a thing, and we're going to give it 10. And then we go x dot. So like you see, PyCharm is inferring the type, so it thinks it's 2 bytes, it's from bytes, yada yada, right? And then if I do something like, so like if it's trying to be smart, thing 2, and we're going to do thing 1, and then we're going to do thing 1 plus thing 2, right like that. And now I'm gonna have I'm trying to think of how I'm trying to figure out how to trick. I've been told quite a bit that I have a good talking voice. Like in college, I did, for my senior project, it was a group project, and we had to give presentations about the project as we were going through it, because it was like a 3-month-long project. It took the whole semester. We finished 2 weeks before graduation, and I was the team lead.
and every time there was a presentation, everybody wanted me to do all the talking and all that fun stuff. So I get the feeling a lot of people think I am a good talker. So yeah, in high school, I used to do presentations, not even for school. Like it was outside of school at like the county fair, and just for like different clubs and stuff that weren't even school related. I used to do all kinds of like, I'd write up a whole talk about stuff like fish tanks, or I'm trying to think what other ones I did. I had some other. I did one on like renewable energy. So like, yeah, I did a bunch of talks and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been a thing I've been doing my whole life. And then let's see. All right, so we're gonna do list, and we're gonna do 5. All right, and we're gonna do will it still infer x dot. Yeah, it's still infers. It's still inferring them, but like the idea is, I'm just trying to think if there's a way. Yeah, I'm too loud though. So many people think I'm just like yelling all the time. It's like, no, I'm not yelling. I'm just very, very loud. All right. Yeah. So like the idea is, so we can say thing 1. And thing 2. So we're going to do add like that, right? And then PyCharm is going to freak out. Not quite freak out here, but like it's assuming it's one of the two. It's not sure which, so it's just going with it. If we did like a list like this, and then we did a list like that, we could do like that, and PyCharm will realize that it's still a list because we gave it 2 lists, right? And it's what it's doing is it's inferring the types. So like I can say it's going to be a T and a T, right? And we're going to return a T. So we're saying whatever the type is of thing 1, store that in type var T. And whatever the thing of type 2 is, also store that in type T. And then we're going to return whatever that type T is. So that's what that's doing. So it isn't something that happens inside of Python. This is just something that happens inside of a type checker. So like PyCharm's type checker is understanding that and recognizing that. And then you can have a class which is going to be like, we can have a class. Let's do the same thing. My class, and then we're going to do that returns a thing. And then we take an arg of some type, and it's going to return self dot my value plus arg, right? And then we do def init value self dot my value equals value, and then we do x equals my class. This might actually break it. This is actually going to break it because it doesn't have. And this might actually break it. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how smart it is. Returns a thing, and y equals, and then we do 5, and y dot. Yeah. See, it doesn't actually understand what's going on here. Yeah, it's setting a type, and so like it doesn't understand what's happening here. But I can then import generic, okay, and I can say this class is generic. We're going to. And it has a single type that's going to be shared throughout. And then we can say value is that type. Whatever the type of my class is, value will be that type. And then we'll say the same thing here. Arg will be that type, and then the return is going to be that type. And then I can come down here and I can do, now it knows because I initiate it with an int, it knows that int is going to be the type that is generic to this class. And then it knows that the return a thing is going to be the same as whatever we initiated with. Now, we can get even crazier than that. We could do this. Let's set this to 10. And we'll get rid of this. And we'll get rid of this. Right, like that. And then it's still going to know because we have this one right here. But I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that right there. And now I'll get rid of the type hinting, right? That gets rid of the type hinting. I can actually come in. Python lets me do this. Whenever I declare something as a generic class, I can actually tell Python what the type is with that subscript right there. And now it knows anything that returns the type var t is going to be an int. It's going to be returning an int. So now it'll suggest all the methods that belong to ints. And like I said, this isn't something that Python actually does. It's something that happens inside of a type checker like MyPy, or inside of PyLance's type checker, or inside of PyCharm's type checker. And PyLance and PyCharm, VS Code's PyLance and PyCharm both use their type checker for type hinting. So it can make your code a lot easier to work with. And so like, the type var is just capturing whatever the type is and saying, hey, everything, each of those things is going to have that same type. So you can make it generic. So I could literally change this. Let's change this back. Value t, right? My value is value, right? And now I can say this is generic. So I have one int type, and then we can get the type hinting, 2 bytes, like right like that. Cool. And then I can come down here and I could do list type equals my class list, and then we're going to initiate it. Oh, I didn't set a value. A 10, then we're going to initiate it with an empty list, and then we're going to do z equals list type dot returns a thing, and then we're going to do 10, 11, 12, and then we come down here and we do z, and now it recognizes it hints out for a list. Hello Yusuf, how's it going? You got on the programming Discord server? Awesome. On the beginner.code server? Even better if it is. And then we can come down here. We could do, let's make a float or a string type. So we can do my class string, and then we're going to do hello, and then we can come down here. A equals string type dot returns a thing world, and then a dot title, so it has all of the methods for a string, because it knows that the type var is setting up all of the stuff. The type var just tells the type checker, hey, this is going to be whatever the type is that's set for the type. It's super duper useful. Python's getting better with it. Type var is fairly, like, before you could do type hinting in Python, there was no use for it because you couldn't use it for anything. But now that we have type hinting, they've started adding all these things like generics and type vars, and like you can even do stuff like you could bind this to a type, and like I'm trying to remember if I can actually bind this to a protocol. Let's see if we can do class my protocol, protocol, and then we can do def add. So it has to support def add. Under adds, then we can bind it to my protocol. Let's see if that works. I think it's gonna work. It didn't complain. So now my type is bound to that, and so now all of these, so like those work, right? But what's something that doesn't support add? Do we have a type that doesn't support add? I think actually most of them do. Let's do sub. Let's look for one that doesn't support sub. I think tuples don't support sub. Tuple, does it complain? Tuple type. I'm trying to think of a dunder method that doesn't work on something. I can't think of one off the top of my head. Let's think. We could do, well, let's just do it this way. We can do it this way. We can do append, right? And it's, PyCharm isn't working with this for whatever reason. Do I have to make it runtime checkable? I don't think that matters for PyCharm. Runtime checkable. Yeah, so it's not going to, PyCharm isn't going to work, but technically this should bind it to the protocol type and say, hey, it should have an append method, and obviously ints don't have an append method. But if I were to bind it to list, even PyCharm still doesn't complain. So I don't know. Yeah, that's basically the idea. Yeah, tuples are immutable, but when you add two things in Python, it doesn't modify. It returns a new value. So you can actually add tuples. So we can do print 1, 2, 3, and then we can do plus 4, 5, 6, and then run that, and it adds them together. Because addition in Python is not modifying stuff. Now, what that does change is if we had 1, 2, 3, right? It has a variable, and then we did x plus equals 4, 5, 6, print x, this will explode. Or it didn't, actually. Wow, how does that work? I would have thought that would have exploded. Oh well, that works. Huh, yeah. So, that's how that works. It's because it isn't actually mutating anything. So y equals x. And now if we do print xy, yeah, you see the values, it's not actually mutating it. I think, I'm wondering, yeah, and there you see with the list, it's actually mutating it. So x and y are keeping the same value. And tuples aren't being mutated. It's just returning a new tuple. So when you have x and y, and you do this with tuples, x changes, but y doesn't. So yeah, pretty neat, pretty fancy. And so that leaves us still trying to figure out why this is not functioning the way I want it to. Why is that like that? We don't need that. There, we need that. There we go. Okay, cool. All right, so then we have monitored property, unmonitored property. We have state. All right, cool. So now, if I restart the server, this should still have the same problems. We still have new challenge. They're all saying they have the same name. 3, 1, 2, yeah. So they're all still saying they're the same name. So we need to figure out why that is happening. Trying to think here. Oh, I know why. I know why. So how do we make this work? So the problem is, whenever we call this function, so like if we look over here inside of entities, like we look at submissions, I have this state property right here. So I'm calling state property, okay, cool. It's happening on the class level. It's not actually happening on the, it's not happening at the instance level. So it's not happening at init. It's happening at the class level, this function call. So it's only happening once for each class, and it's creating these properties, which are then not doing what we want them to do. So now I have to figure out how do I make them do what I want them to do, which is to create a new value that's bound to each instance, not to each class. And that's going to be a little bit trickier than I would have liked. It means I'm going to have to create a special descriptor. Oh wow, this might actually be a lot harder than I thought to do, which makes me sad, because I didn't want to have to mess with this. Kool-Aid. Cherry Kool-Aid. Right, so how do we do this? We've got to make it so that... Yeah, I know that much. I know where the sound settings are in... If we come over here, System Preferences. Let's pull it up real quick. Sound. And then Input, Yeti. Like, I don't see that we have a boost on anything. And that's all the settings that this gives me for it. And then, like, I also have this running input Yeti, and it's at 87%. Like, it should be, yeah, it's bound to that. And this doesn't have any boosts on it. It just has the sample rate. So yeah, I don't know. Drag that way down. Hello? Oh, does it? Is that what was wrong? Oh, weird. I wouldn't have thought that would have been the problem. Huh. I'll have to listen to... Actually, is this charged up? Should be able to... I can find the power button. Hello, Rohit. How's it going? Alright, testing. 1, 2, 3. Can I hear myself? No, I can't. Can't hear myself. Settings. Advanced audio properties. Monitor and output. And for some reason, my monitoring isn't working. Oh, lovely. Monitor only. Testing 1, 2, 3. Nothing. Oh well. Monitor off. Close. Okay. Go down one more notch. Going down, testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3, testing. How's that sound? Sound any good? Okay, so maybe that was all that was wrong. Hopefully that was all that was wrong. Input volume. Oh, awesome. If that was everything that was wrong, then that's great. Like, I don't know why it would let you go beyond a good volume, but that's just me. I don't know. I mean, I'll play around with that sometime when I can hear my mic. I'm not sure why I can't hear the mic right now. Let me try this. Actually, I think I figured out why that wasn't working. Monitor, testing. Oh yeah, there's no clipping. Cool. Very cool. Thank you, Hex. That's super awesome. It's so weird. Like, why would they do that? Why? Like, it seems like you would make it with the default that it just doesn't do that. Like, why would you have an option to do that? I don't know. Doesn't make any sense to me. And like, what makes even less sense to me is that it's at 50%, less than 50%. Let's see. Yeah, it's at 36%. Why would 36% be the magic number? Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Oh well. Hey, we figured it out. That makes me a lot happier. Don't have to buy a new mic. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Hello. Hi. All right. How's that sound? Does that sound good to you guys? We increase the gain a little bit. Sounds pretty good to me. Alrighty. Yeah, much happier now. Alright, so now we can beat our brain against this thing. Alright, slightly again. Let's bring it down a tad. There we go. How's that? Yeah. I can see the audio levels. I'm actually monitoring one that's lower. So you guys, testing. Okay, cool. Yeah. The audio levels look about right. I'll have to listen back to it because, like, for some reason, OBS isn't letting me monitor the one I'm streaming. I have a second one for some reason that I'm able to monitor. And what's even weirder is in my advanced audio properties. Both of them are set to monitor. And what's scary is when this one is set to monitor, we get echo. In past we have. So who knows? We'll find out, I guess. I'm just going to reduce the volume on that one, just in case. All right. There we go. Awesome. Thank you so much, Hex. I appreciate it. It's been a pain in my neck for quite a while. All right. So we got to figure out how to fix this. I mean, that's how it's been sounding forever, so this is going to be a major upgrade. Yeah. And the thing that's worse is, because I didn't realize that it was a system setting issue, I would have bought a new mic and had the exact same problem. All right. Okay, so what I've got to do for this is I need to have this logic on the individual class. Yeah, we can mess with it later and see how it sounds and stuff. The tricky part is most of my audio settings are in OBS. So unless I'm in OBS, it's hard to mess with stuff. But yeah, we can mess with it later maybe. We'll see if I have time for it. I've got a lot going on. But yeah. All right. So I've got to bind 3 things together. And I've got to make them instance dependent. So we need to create a dunder get def dunder get instance and owner. And what that is, what this dunder get does is anytime you do self dot, if the thing has a dunder get method, Python will do this. It'll do dunder get or thing dot dunder get. Well, actually, it's more like this. It's more like it's gonna do type of thing, right, like that. Then it's gonna do dunder get, and then it's gonna do self, and then type of self, and then it's gonna do whatever you want to do with the thing. So like, we're gonna append to a list. It'll do that. So that's what that's doing. And that's letting us change what exactly this instance gets when it accesses an attribute. And so I need to bind to that instance. And I think we need to import from weakref, import weak key dictionary. All right, so what that's going to do is whatever the key is for this dictionary, it's going to create a weak reference to that thing. So like Python's garbage collector works on reference counting. And so every time you create a variable that points at an object, it increases that object's reference count by 1. And when that reference count reaches 0, that object will be deleted. Python will get rid of it because no variables point at it. What a weak key dictionary is going to do is it's going to weakly point at that object. That is the key of the dictionary. And it will not increase the reference counter. So, even though our dictionary doesn't get deleted, the keys can get deleted, even though the dictionary still points at them. And this is useful so we don't end up with a memory leak, where we don't end up with objects that are only pointed at by our dictionary and nothing else, And our object doesn't care about these keys except for if something else needs them. So once those things that are keys are no longer needed, we want them to just disappear from our dictionary. And that's what this weak key dictionary is going to do. And what we're going to do is we're going to use these instances, and we're going to use them as our keys. And then we do, I mean, Python isn't going to have like necessarily a memory leak of that degree. But what we're doing right now is we're caching stuff, and that can have that effect. It can end up keeping objects in memory that shouldn't be kept in memory. And that's what a memory leak is. Objects that should have been destroyed weren't destroyed and are now taking up memory. And you're running out of memory slowly. And that's what a memory leak is. That's all a memory leak really is. And so we're trying to avoid that. Let's see. And then that's going to be my weak key dictionary. Then we're going to end up creating a whole nother class for some of this stuff, aren't we? Right. So then when we do dunder get, we're going to do self dot if, this is what we're doing, if instance not in self dot instances class state property. This one's kind of secret. It's got an underscore. And it's gonna be generic T, or like that. And then this is gonna be a dict of any. I'm gonna have to import that. And then it's gonna be state property T. So this way we know that this is generic for the same type as this one is going to be generic. And we need this. And let me just copy the whole thing, because this is all going to go down here with the exception of this line. And then all of this goes away here. Basically, this is going to act as our way to get the state property for each instance. Hopefully this will work. I can think of a problem already, but we'll deal with that when we get there. All right, so any, there we go. And then this is going to be, because I gotta think, how do we make this work? Because, I see. Can we do that? Does it let me do that generically? Yes, it does. Awesome. All right. The problem is, I need these properties to act as descriptors. So we may end up having to create our own that does something like this. But we'll see in a moment. Right. Self.instances instance equals state property. And just to be really clear, we're gonna say that it's T. And then return self.instances instance. So now it's going to get the correct state property for the state property. All right. State property. Because I've got to bind 3 different things together. I got to figure out how to make that work. probably going to end up all right. So, hmm. Gotta think for a second here. Let's see. This is a little bit of a tricky problem. I've got some ideas because we need three descriptors, three things that define get. When you do at property, right, like that creates a descriptor. Property is a descriptor. It defines a get, which calls what the function that you're decorating, and it gives back the value that function returns. That's how a property works. And like you can do set, which is how you can define a setter on a property. We're trying to do this a little bit more manually to give some more advanced behavior. And I've got to figure out how I want to tie, because I want to tie three different things together. I want to tie a property that has its value monitored for changes. And then I want to have a property that is not monitored for changes. But it needs to, when you do the get, when you fetch the value from both of them, it should be the same. But when you set on the monitored one, it'll change this value inside the state property to true. And when you assign to the unmonitored one, it'll just change value. It won't change this. And I think, trying to think here, I think we can get this how. Interesting. It's returning. Oh, okay. It is returning a state property. Because this has to be. The wrong button. Class monitored property. And that's going to be generic key. Def get, or nope, get. And it is going to get a state property. Right? Yes? No? Maybe? Yes. It's going to get a state property. And that's going to be this object here. And then we do self.state property. State property. And then we do, we'll just call it state. We're going to call it state. Then def under get. And we're just going to modify. We're going to modify the behavior of this one. So we're going to do this. We're going to do state equals self.state property dot dunder get instance owner. Okay. So now, what do? We need to. So now we have the instance of the state property that is bound to an instance. So we have the changed and we have the value, and we can just return state.value. So there we go. So now we're able to get the value out of the state property. Okay. Next, we're going to do def set. Dunder set here. And this one only gets an instance and it gets a value. Because when you assign to a class, it expects you, it's the only way you can modify a property. Because when you do the assignment on an instance, it's going to call dunder set. So if you ever need to change that attribute of the class, you have to do it on the class object. So it won't call dunder set if you do, so like if you have a class example that has a property, we'll call it example. So like you have an instance dot example, it's going to call examples dunder set, right? So if you needed to modify that, hey Wildcat, how's it going? Hey Jessa, everybody's joining. So if you needed to modify that, like what that actual attribute is, you would have to do it on example, and then you could assign that, and that won't call to dunder set. So that's why this doesn't get a owner; it just gets the instance, because the dunder set on a descriptor is only called when you assign to the property on an instance. Which is a little bit confusing because the dunder get is different. It actually behaves on the class and on the instance. Not 100% sure why they do that, but that's how it works. All right, so then we can do, and then again, this is going to need to use this. Actually, you know what? We're going to do this. Self.get instance. Return. There we go. Def get instance. Like that. There we go. So now we have that, and we can get rid of this need to call the dunder, and we can just call the get. And state property. Why is that not? I'm a little bit confused. Why PyCharm thinks that this is an instance of this when I'm telling it it's an instance of this. Very odd. Yeah, weird. Cool. Let's move on with that. All right. So now we're getting the value. Now here, we're going to grab the state yet again. And get rid of this. We need to get rid of that there. So we're only using the instance. We only care about the instance. We don't care about the owner. And then we're doing state, and then we're going to do state.value equals value. State.change equals true. All right, cool. So now we have our monitored property. And I'm actually going to do this. Class unmonitored. We're going to name this one monitored property. Generic. Actually, it's going to be unmonitored. Let's rename this one real quick. Because this one is going to be unmonitored property. All right, and then this one, set instance value state equals self dot state property dot get instance state dot value equals value. And here's where we're going to use inheritance to eliminate the need for duplicate code. Because we're just going to do super dot under set instance value. Oh no, never mind. Maybe not. Well, we gotta do this. And then self dot state property. Why is this? Oh, typo. Boom. State property dot get instance like that. There we go. So now we're doing change 1. Stage. Let's do this. All right. So now I've changed the change to true after we get the state, and we're doing the assignment up here to eliminate any duplication. And like it inherits this, eliminating duplication there as well. So that hopefully will fix things. So now we're going to do monitored property, state, unmonitored property, state, and then we return state. Yeah, we return state. This, in theory, should work. Cast T. I'll have to re-import cast. And then typing and cast. There we go. All right, now it's not complaining. And the reason why I'm casting it to T is because these properties, because they're using their descriptors, when you're accessing them and when you're using them in your code, they're going to appear just as the value. They're not going to appear with any special functionality. You're not going to see all this crazy stuff happening under the hood. So it should just behave like whatever value they've been assigned to. Didn't blow up. There we go. New challenge. Description. This is a new test challenge. Title. Testing challenges. Description. This is a test challenge. And then I had a second one with the same. So now those state properties are working correctly. The one thing that we haven't checked is if the syncing functions correctly. I'm not sure how we could test that really right now. The one thing we could do is we could create a quick test right here. I'm not importing anything from, yeah, I'm not, okay. Testing, test, underscore test, test state equals state property, and we'll make it an int, and then x equals testing, print x dot test, test, we need to assign to it value, self dot test equals value, 5, x dot underscore test. I'm not really supposed to do that, but x dot underscore test state dot changed. Then if we run this file, 5 false, so it hasn't changed. Yeah. Alrighty. Okay, next up, now we're going to do x dot test equals 10. And we're just going to duplicate this and bring it down here. And there we go. Now it's changed, and now we have 10, 10 on both of them. Let's just duplicate that again, and we're going to do x dot test equals 15. Now we run it. And, one thing I needed to do was x. Let's come up here. X dot test state dot changed equals false. Then we run it, and there we go. So now it doesn't change. And like if we got rid of this right here, you would see both of it changed, and it goes to false. Still is false. So now the thing functions the way it's supposed to. Let's just real quick do this. Y equals testing 100. All right, and then we're gonna do y.test just to make sure things are functioning the way we expect them to. Y.test, x.test is changed. Why is my mouse, my keyboard? And then y. And then we run it. And there we go. So now the values are unique between instances. The state is unique between instances. Like you see right here, we changed the value of x from 5 to 15. We didn't change the value inside of y. And now x is showing up as changed and y is not. Pretty neat. And that was the whole point of this class. This state property. And now it's working. Now it's actually working. It's not sharing values between every instance of a class. And it took a little bit of thinking and a little bit of work because we have to thread information into everything. That information has to be bound to an instance that doesn't exist yet. So, and that information has to be bound across 3 things. It has to be bound across state property. This must be bound to an instance. This needs to be bound to an instance. And this needs to be bound to an instance. So this handles binding this to an instance, and then giving these the bound version of this on the instance. So another way we could do that I just thought of, well, I could use that. I don't think that would actually work though. Yeah, that wouldn't actually work. Yeah, so I think this is probably the easiest, simplest way to do something that you would think would be much simpler to do than it is. All right. It's definitely more complicated than I originally thought, which is why I had to rewrite it. All right, so now we're going to bring back up tower. Fix the bug, fix the issue where state properties were shared. There we go. We're up to 22 commits. I'll probably be stopping here shortly. One thing we can do, like if we come over here, we go to GitHub. If I could get my fingers on the home row. And come over here, we've got a bunch of issues we've created. Let's see, did we get anything done from here? We've got to get these done next. We have to add an API endpoint for mods to be able to approve a submission, which we just got the submission status working. So right now, it only sets it to created. Next, I need to add the ability for mods to change that from created to approved. And the one thing I want, like what this is doing, the way this is functioning, is it's essentially keeping an audit log on each submission. It was created, when it was created, who approved it and when they approved it, who disapproved it, when they disapproved it. so we can keep track of all that. Because I figured that would be useful information to have when we're going to have multiple mods monitoring stuff just to make sure nobody's sharing viruses, malicious code, low quality posts that are just self-promotion, nothing like that. We don't want any of that stuff. So I need moderators to monitor that stuff and approve it and disapprove it and remove it and add it and all that fun stuff. And the way the site's going to work is when you submit something to a challenge, you create a submission to a challenge, it'll show up to everybody as the created. When it's created, it'll show up to everybody. And if it's approved, it'll count towards any leaderboards. And then if it's disapproved, it'll disappear from everybody and the user will be notified that their submission has been disapproved. So we're going to have to add in a notification system, like a few other things that are going to happen in the future. But I just want to get this to a minimum viable product. We want to get an MVP out there where we can create challenges and people can send submissions. And I feel like for the first few days, we'll probably be fine not having notifications or anything like that working. So yeah, that's where we're at with this right now. We've got 22 commits. We can push those up to the repo on GitHub. It is linked in the description below. So if you want to check out the code we have so far. I mean, we could do that. I mean, right now, like, there's no code actually being submitted. All of the submissions are, if we look at the model, you can see this. On the submissions, it's literally just what type of submission is it, and a link to the submission, and a description for the submission. We could hide the link. I mean, right now, all of the challenges are going to be created by the admin. And we're going to have voting on the submissions. So people will vote on submissions. You'll be able to vote. Yeah, we could hide the link on a created submission. I'm not sure, because I want to be able to allow people to vote right away. I don't want to have to make people wait. I'm also going to have a reporting system so people can report stuff to the mods and admins. So I think the way I want it to work just out of the gate is everybody's we're going to treat people like they're adults and like they're big kids and they can handle themselves and they can pay attention and make sure they're not doing something, clicking on something they shouldn't be or something malicious. And for the time being, but like my concern is I want people to be able to vote right away, and I don't want people necessarily voting on something that's just based on a description. I want them to be able to see the link, and that's where I'm at right now. I think if we had a larger team that could be like, we'll see how things go. I'm just concerned that we're going to have days where we don't get a mod onto the site to look for submissions right away. So I want to have a system where we can get people on there and people can vote and people can report stuff if there's a problem. It's going to be no more dangerous than Discord because you can share whatever links you want on Discord. Discord isn't blocking links as far as I'm aware. So I figure we can just allow links and we'll deal with them as we would on the server. We're probably going to have submissions announced on the server, on the Discord. We might not announce them until they're approved, but like they're all going to be visible and accessible on the website right away, just for the time being at least. If we find that we're really good and really responsive with approving posts, submissions, then maybe, yeah, we can start hiding the link. But for now, I think it'll be fine this way. I'll probably have to eventually, like, this won't be part of the MVP, but like eventually we'll probably add a filter to the links that are submitted and like block like XXX links, like links that just aren't good, like anything like looks like might be a nitro scam or anything like that. So I'll probably have like a regex on the back end for mods where they can just regex out a blacklist for a bunch of links. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. A next step is going to be getting voting working. That shouldn't be too hard. We're pretty much there. We pretty much got everything working. The hardest part is going to be getting the front end working. I know Arian's been working on that for me, helping me out with that a lot. We'll see where we land with that. Like, it's looking pretty good. Arian hasn't he hasn't uploaded the CSS yet, so I have only seen screenshots of where we're at with that. I can probably, let me see if we can show that off. If we come over here, summer of code, and like, if anybody wants to help out, it's just join the thread in the collaboration discussion, and come hang out with us in the chat and help us out. And like, here we go. This is what Arian has working so far with the CSS. And you can see if we compare that to the homepage right now. This is what the homepage looks like right now. This is what Arian has pretty much gotten working for us. Like, he's getting this bar right here working. Hopefully that will be updating live as we get closer to the end of each challenge. So that'll be fun. It's going to start out with the counting down the days, and then it'll start counting down the hours and counting down the minutes. Hopefully it'll be done live so you can watch it count down while you wait for the next submission, the next active challenge. And you won't be able to see future challenges. You'll only be able to see the current and past challenges. And then once the active challenge reaches 0 days, 0 minutes, 0 hours, 0 seconds left, the next active challenge will show up. The next challenge will show up and become active, and you'll be able to start submitting submissions for that. So there will be a deadline. There will be a cutoff. I think actually I will allow submissions to past challenges for anybody who wants to. This is literally just the Pico CSS for the most part. Like, Arian did style this stuff to get it to lay out correctly. But like, it's just the Pico CSS. But yeah, I think I'm going to allow submissions to past challenges, but people won't be able to vote on past challenges. There might be like a window where you'll be able to vote after a challenge has ended, just in case someone submits like in the last like 24 hours and not everybody's had a chance to see everything. But yeah, I think we'll figure it out. We'll get a feel for it. We'll get a sense for it. Like, I would have liked to have had this done in May. I was just too busy and didn't have the time to make it happen. So this is going to be our trial run this summer. We will have the infrastructure after this is done to do challenge events in the future. So we'll see what happens. We'll see where we land with it. We're going to have a leaderboard. We're going to have based on votes. I want it in the future, maybe tie it in with GitHub and like maybe do like who made the most commits, which might be a little bit tricky to moderate, making sure people aren't just making random commits or automating that. But like, come up with something that we can have like leaderboards for and get people engaged with something going on, have stuff going on that people can get engaged with. They can see a leaderboard where they can have a lot of fun, where we can start having fun with people joining and hanging out and doing stuff together. But yeah, that's where we're at. I got to get the voting working. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. Remind me what CTFs are. Yeah, we're getting there, slowly but surely. Little bit at a time. Like, this link doesn't work just yet. We got to get that working. I've got to get rate limiting working for the APIs. Oh yeah, capture the flag. We'll have to figure out how exactly that would tie into what we're building right now. Yeah, we're definitely getting to a point where now we have the framework code where we have an understanding of how we would write a website, write the code for a website. Because we didn't have that before. Like, we had a Flask website written by Haruk, and it just it kept blowing up my database. So yeah, maybe we could do something like that. Like we might have to make more of a journey kind of system where it's like you unlock each successive challenge. Like right now it's time-based challenges, which are more like prompts. Yeah, definitely. I think we might do like a quest line kind of thing. And we'll have to figure out how that would work exactly. Maybe like it could be like the advent of code where you get the challenge. I'm not familiar with TrinkleCon. I've never heard of it actually. But yeah, maybe we could set up something like some of the ideas I'm having are we could set up something like advent of code where you have like it's a quest. But instead of being like a day-to-day thing, where it's like advent of code in the sense that you submit the output from your code. And the server validates that your output matches what it should be to verify that you have the code working. And then once you get the active working code, it unlocks the next step in the quest. And so like we could do something like that. Like so there's a few different ideas that I have that we could do. And I think maybe like the CTFs, we could maybe do something like that where we have a quest where we have to do different CTFs. We just have to figure out how do we want to have proof of work that they've completed the challenge. And now keep in mind, yeah, definitely. We could definitely do something like that. We're getting there. And like most of the biggest problem I've had getting all of this working, the problem we've had getting all of this functioning is how do we create websites that have a front end and a back end? And I've got that working. Like I don't know if any of you saw like inside of here, like literally I'm able to set, this is something I built, like this template response right here. That's something I had to figure out how to make function with Fast API. I couldn't find anything on anywhere for like that kind of stuff. And so like literally you just return what's the template we want to use and here's the values that go into that template. And I had to figure out how to make that work. It's still not 100% perfect, but it's pretty good. And I've got like, I don't know if any of the pages here have it. Yeah, none of these have it. But if you come over here to like API, I just created this one right here, the create submission. It gets the session and the session has a user ID. So we can actually tell who is logged in on each route. So I've got all of that working now, and we've got all that there. So once we get this all finished and we get this summer of code kicked off, yeah, totally. We can start working on an actual website. Like the summer of code, I think we're gonna do like I want to have this infrastructure so we can do like a time frame where you get prompted to do a like weekly challenge. Maybe we could have an ongoing one that's like all year round where each month there's a challenge. We could do something like that. But I definitely want to have like on the beginner.codes, like have a beginner.code/challenges. And you go there and like, or maybe like beginner.code/quest. And you select the quest that you want to do. Like, do you want to do a CTF quest? Do you want to do a web dev quest? And like, so like people are learning in a gamified way. It's asking me if I want to. It's held for review. Show. Oh, you know what? Let me do this real quick. Can I do that from here? Add moderator. There we go. There we go. Now maybe your messages won't get held for review. Yeah, exactly. And like we will have, because now I have all of the code and everything we need to log someone in with Discord. I could just as easily adapt that code to log someone in with GitHub. Like, all of the user authentication stuff only uses Discord to get their email address so I can uniquely identify them no matter what authentication platform I use. So we could easily tie into Facebook, we could easily tie into GitHub, we could tie into Google using the same user authentication system. We just need to write the endpoints to reach out to Google, to reach out to GitHub, to reach out to Facebook, to get their email address so we can store it in our database, so that we can authenticate them through other platforms. So all of that infrastructure now exists, and once this website is up and running, we'll have so much infrastructure that we can just implement into a lot of stuff. And definitely, yeah, like, I know Advent of Code, the way it functions is it generate user data, the input code, the input for your code, your functions is generated per user. So it's unique for each user. So no two users have the same code input. And so no two users are going to have the same code output. And so you have to submit your code output to verify that you have code that actually does the thing that's expected. And I want to do something very similar to that, where we can actually build challenges and quests and all kinds of stuff like that at any time, and then have people learn in a very gamified way. We're kind of building like Code Wars or something like those, but a little bit more curated, I think. So we're almost building a course, a tutorial course, a learning course, where you learn by doing, and you'll jump out into the Discord to ask for help and get help writing your code and figuring out your problems and debugging this stuff, your code, and understanding what is wrong with your code. And it's going to be framework agnostic, language agnostic. Yeah, totally. We just got to get it all working. Like, that's the first step to this, is getting it all working. And we should have the Summer of Code website functional this week. Like, if not, I haven't looked at my schedule this week. I'm not sure when I'll be totally free this week, but like at some point this week, we should be able to have users log in, see the currently active challenge, submit, make submissions to those challenges, have mods be able to approve submissions. We should have a leaderboard functioning, and we should be able to allow users to vote, to upvote the challenges the submissions that they like for each challenge. So we should be getting really close to something very cool very soon. And we're getting there slowly but surely. I have to work on a website for my mother this month. It has to be done before the end of the month. I will get paid for that. So it's something that has a bit of a deadline. I will get paid for it. So I am not going to not get that done on time. So that has to get done this month. So sometime, hopefully before Christmas, we can have something really cool in place. I would love to have it done by October. And then if we can get it done by October and we can tie it in with GitHub, then maybe we can have some challenges related to Hacktoberfest, which might be really, really cool. And we can maybe promote that elsewhere. Be like, hey, Hacktoberfest, come join us and let's do some challenges and some stuff like that around contributing to open source. And I want it to be that flexible, where we could do all kinds of fun stuff like that. And we're getting there. It's taking time, it's taking work, it's taking effort, but slowly but surely we're getting there. But yeah, so it's gonna be a lot of fun once we get it working. And maybe this is the thing we need to get the traction to keep people on the server, because like right now our metrics are terrible for retention. Growth is kind of slow right now. We were doing about 100 people every 5 to 7 days. Right now it's about 100 new members every like 8 or 9 days. But I don't think the joins have actually dropped. I think joins are actually up from where they were. I haven't checked, I haven't looked at the metrics, but I've noticed a lot of people joining and then a lot of people leaving and not a lot of people sticking around for a long time. And hopefully, if we have something like this, it will help with that problem. If we can, I think if we start getting people to come not based on, oh hey, you're at the top of a list of Discord programming servers, and if we can get people to start coming because they want to learn to code using our challenges and our roadmap, essentially, that will get higher quality members who are more likely to stick around. Because right now we have grown so much. Like we're on 2.5 years. This November it'll be 3 years. The server will be 3 years old this November, and the only way we have grown for those 3 years is through Discord, Discord.me, and recently the Discord. What is it? The Discord Discovery. So that's how we've grown for this entire time. And it's not been great for metrics because we get a lot of people who just join because we're at the top of a list. And I want to change that. I want to make it so we can say, hey, join our Discord and learn to code in a gamified way. And I think that will be awesome once we get it working. This week, I need to get voting working. I need to get submission approval working. I need to get I need to get the leaderboard working. They should be fairly simple to get working. I would love to get the report button working first before the I would love to get the report button and user notifications working before we go live with it. We'll see. It'll depend on how close we are. I do not want to get to next Sunday without releasing this. It needs to be released by next Sunday. That's my deadline. The Summer of Code is going to be starting midsummer, but it's starting soon. We're almost there. It'll be awesome when it launches. I wanted to have more design done for it. Like literally, we're just doing Pico CSS, whatever the default is for that. But it looks good. I think it's good. I think it'll be fine. But yeah. All right, I'm gonna call it a night. I need to get dinner. I need to get stuff in order for work tomorrow. Hey, Arian, yeah, you're helping out so much. Like all of your contributions are so great. I did make a little bit of a tweak to something, I think. Oh, I had to add the button to. Why am I not logged in right now? Hopefully, I don't have to do anything crazy. All right, cool. Like when I went to challenges/create, I had to add the create button. There was no create button, so I added that. Also, you will notice, I don't know if you were on the stream earlier when I added challenges/one create submission. I want to use labels. I explained on the stream earlier why I don't want to use the placeholder, because once you type in there, you can't read what it is. Once you have your own text in there, the placeholder is gone. So I want to use labels. So look at my code for the create submission.html. Just look at that. You'll see how I did it. It's really simple. You just use in the for attribute, you put the ID of the input item. Super simple. I mean, if you want to design something, if you want to do something, like I said, join the thread. Like, jump in the thread. I'm open to ideas. I'm open to help. Like, I'm just wanting to get this done. Like, I want to get this done. I want to get this out into the world. I want to make it happen. And I want it to be as cool as possible. I want it to look as cool as possible, obviously. But most importantly to me is getting something out there. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect on day one. It needs to be perfect 1 year from now. It needs to be perfect 2 years from now. It doesn't have to be perfect today. But yeah, and like you see, because I'm using the for attribute on the label, I can literally tap on the label and it'll focus the input field. So just look at how I did that. It's super simple. It's super cool. It'll make things so much more usable. Something else we need to look into that we need to do is we need to make this accessible to people with disabilities. So if anybody's feeling up to it, like I'm writing all the code on the back end, like the code that nobody sees, that nobody has to interact with. Like I'm not dealing with the front end users. I'm not dealing with the people who are looking at our website. So I'm not writing code that needs to be accessible. But we want the website to be accessible to the users. And so we need to find, you need to look up, and what I really appreciate it if someone could jump in and get this done for us, is look up ARIA, ARIA. It's a way to mark up your HTML to let like screen readers understand what the semantic meaning of each, what the semantic purpose of each element is. So like the navigation, so the user can just get to the navigation simply. For images, so that they can see, they can tell what the image is of without having to be able to see the image themselves. Like if someone who's blind access our website, we want them to be able to use the website as closely, as easily as a normal sighted user can. So yeah, and that's something we want to get done. We want to have done, because we want it to be accessible to everyone. We want everyone to be able to enjoy this, regardless of their physical abilities. So yeah, ARIA is the reference that we need to use for that. That's the technology that everybody uses for this. Pico CSS doesn't have that built into their docs. Like if we used Bootstrap is very good about documenting ARIA, and like their documentation often will have the appropriate ARIA information. So maybe even jumping over to Bootstrap and looking for like similar elements to what you're doing with Pico CSS, you can see how their ARIA works. And like I am familiar with it. Like it's been a while since I've messed with ARIA, so I may or may not be able to help, but I can definitely help point you in the right direction if anybody has any questions about it while working on stuff with this. But yeah, it has been a while since I've done front end stuff. I know JavaScript has changed so much since I was last doing web dev back in 2015. JavaScript is so different. Like I was doing web dev back in 2015, 2016, and things have changed immensely since then. And so like it takes me a little bit of Googling to write modern vanilla JavaScript. But we're getting there. We're making progress. We're getting a lot done. APIs are, like I've got it to the point where I'll be able to add in all the things I need to for like rate limiting API requests and all of that, using Bevy and Fast API combined to handle all that. So I've got a lot of stuff working. It's looking great. We're so close to having this ready to go. And once it's done, there's so much we'll be able to do with the code we have on hand to be able to build stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be really cool. But yeah, I need to get dinner. I need to get ready for work tomorrow. So you all have a great week. If you are new here and you are watching the stream, or if you are watching this video in the future and you do not know about the Beginner.Code's Discord server, the link is down below. Check it out. Join us. We're just over 8,000 members right now. But it's not like a huge, like your message is going to get lost in the conversation every time you send a message. Like it's a small Discord field. Like we have a lot of stuff we do to try to help keep the channels easy to talk in, easy to have conversations in, so nothing gets lost, so everything's organized well. So check it out in the description below. If you would like to talk to me, I am on Twitter. I am most active on Twitter and Discord. If you message me there, I will see it. I will respond as soon as I can. I do try to keep up on my YouTube comments. They are very low priority for me though. I have so much going on all of the time. I'm doing so many things. So if you reach out to me on Discord or Twitter if you have any questions, that would be best. Keep an eye on the Discord for updates on streams. I try to stream every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern time and 3 p.m. on Sundays. It doesn't happen every week. I try to prioritize my mental health over hitting some upload quota or anything like that. So, yeah, keep an eye on the Discord. That's where I announce my streams. All right. According to ARIA docs, you should use these specs. Oh, okay. So there's a new spec that's come out. All right. If that's the case, let's go ahead and do that. So yeah, whatever the most modern accessibility standard is, we will be using that. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I think I know what you're talking about with the HTML5 spec. We might have to use a combination of the two ARIA and the HTML5 spec. But like, I think the HTML5 spec is using semantic elements. Yeah, so we'll have to look into it. If you link I think you said you're linking the information in the thread. So we'll look at it. We'll figure out where we're at with that. We'll get it right. But all right, I'm gonna go have dinner now. Y'all have a great week. I will be on Discord. Y'all have a great night. And